Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm back at it again with another video. Hopefully the noise isn't too loud outside. They're having like a whole block party for the kids and stuff for Halloween, and you know, they got the bounce house and all that stuff going on. My son and my sister and my mother-in-law, they just went to the party right now. My baby mama gonna be here in a couple minutes, and she's gonna go to the party too. I might go swing by. I still kind of like indifferent about it because I want to see a bunch of kids bounce on bounce houses, and you know, there's barely any men out there. It's mainly just the moms and stuff like that watching over the kids having fun. I might go check it out just to go see what it is, playing that lame ass rap music, but nevertheless though, check it out real quick. So I'll give credit where credit is due, but there's only so much credit that I can give. I will give credit for knowing at the very least you're making a decision that benefited your company, and you're not being cringe, and you're not listening to your dumbass fans and promoting other things that you know is not going to be good for your company, right? So why put in, look, this is no disrespect to Private Party or the Young Bucks. That was a great match last night. I'll give credit where credit is due. And there are so many people who were saying things like, when I looked at their comment section on YouTube, there were so many people saying things like, oh, this should have main evented. Oh, this, because I was curious to see how they were actually going to, because you know how like typically when you have matches like this, when it's not very heavy centric on the matches and stuff like that, they treat this like it's a peon or something like that, like it's a fucking pariah. This match did have a bunch of false finishes and stuff like that, typical of AEW, but it wasn't so much focused on the wrestling as much as it was the actual storytelling. So I was very curious to see how people reacted, and they reacted pretty well, but a lot of people were saying that this should have been the main event, which is stupid because Bobby Lashley is supposed to be the main event. And then I went to the Bobby Lashley video to see people's opinions on that one. That was probably like, I want to say maybe 45 minutes ago. And I noticed the viewership number. I saw it. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you right now, as of right now, the video is sitting at 1,035,839 views. I don't think it's trending. I don't see anything indicating that it's trending. But nevertheless, though, Bobby Lashley, he brought in 1 million views for AEW for what, I can't tell you how long, but it's been months. It has been months since they cracked anything in regards to 1 million views in any capacity whatsoever. And I know most people are going to probably be like, well, Devontae, that's not the official viewership number. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. In the grand scheme of things, what does this really mean? But what I am suggesting is this is a great indication that you should be pushing Bobby Lashley. And for that matter, Swerve Strickland also. It takes two to tango. Yeah, obviously the viewership number is because of Bobby, but here's your chance to blow up Swerve Strickland some more and put him in there with a legitimate, actual, for real superstar. Not no stupid ass garbage talent like Hangman Adam Page to have stupid garbage matches. Nah, Swerve's in the big time now. And you have Bobby Lashley who could pull in this number, give off some of that rub to Swerve Strickland. You know, this is your chance to really do something for real. You got this garbage ass, lame ass, trash wrestling with Jon Moxley and Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy that only your sickos care about. Bobby Lashley and Swerve Strickland, even if the viewership number comes in tomorrow and it says that it's still in the 600,000, which would be very surprising, like you're in the mid, like right here, this segment in particular indicates that I'm pretty sure this did a high viewership. Well, I don't know about that because the show did go off the air towards the end, so maybe it won't have an indication, but I think it's going to have an indication next week at the very least, right? I think people want to see what the Hurt Business is all about next week. Theoretically, I think their segment probably might even do in the 900,000s. I wouldn't be surprised if it did 1 million right here. I would presume that it'll do 900,000, or maybe this is just, I don't know, just a one-time thing because Bobby debuted, right? But I think typically, even with the debut, you want to see the follow-up, even if that number, for an example, falls, say, 10%, right? We're talking about 900,000. You know what I mean? So my thing is, you have a chance. You have a chance to do something right now. Here's your opportunity. As close to currently in your company at this very moment, judging by that number, this is the closest thing that you have to someone even remotely relevant in the mainstream when it comes to professional wrestling. Do they do something with this? That's always the point when it comes to AEW. Do they do anything to follow up on what they have to capitalize on that momentum? But I got another point in question for you guys. And this is something that we have to talk about, right? Because say theoretically they do mess this up. Or say theoretically they don't mess this up. There is going to come a time when you do kind of have to stand on your own 2 feet. If what you're going to do with Bobby Lashley is give him a legitimate push, and if these numbers indicate anything, you be a complete and utter idiot not to do something with this. If for nothing else, it suggests that people want to see him in your company. People are curious about seeing him in your company. You have to take a different direction from just the standard Hurt Business gimmick. Like, I'm happy that you have Shelton, that you have Bobby, that you have MVP, and obviously that's the indication that the Hurt Business is going to be a thing. I'm happy about that, but you have to go in a different direction. There has to be a different aesthetic, a different approach, while still capturing the ambiance of the Hurt Business, or what everybody liked back in 2020. Because my thing is, in the end of the day, and I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but facts are facts. You're still dick riding the shit out of WWE, right? I can't think, and I'm talking about correlations right here, right? I'm not talking about, for an example, Orange Cassidy getting 30 million views because he hugged the kid at the end of a show that didn't even do anything for the ratings. No, correlation, meaning what this segment has done on YouTube versus what I presume it's going to do segment-wise next week when people actually tune in to watch the show to see Bobby on there. Here's your opportunity to take a drastic approach and get away from the Hurt Business while still keeping the energy of the Hurt Business. You're a promoter, right? This is your job, right? You wouldn't be in this position, theoretically, if you couldn't do something like this, right? So I expect you to keep the energy. There's nothing wrong with taking WWE talent necessarily, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I expect you to take all that energy from the Hurt Business, transforming it into something very similar, but relevant and pertaining to your company's identity specifically. Because right now, with these million views, and it goes all the way back to the CM Punks of the world, to the Bryan Danielsons of the world, to the Adam Coles of the world, to the Mercedes Monets of the world, to the Pages of the world, to the Miros of the world, to the John Moxleys, to the Jerichos, to the Christians, to the Edges. Eventually, you're going to have to stand on your own. You're going to have to. You're going to have to stand on your own. I don't think, and like I said, this is what I mean by correlation. Because I'm not just trying to single out a stupid segment from 5 years ago highlighting some stupid, dumb, random, miscellaneous thing that blew up on YouTube, right? That happens all the time with YouTube content in general. This is actually relevant to the company in itself and the viewership number that is sustained based off of the viewership number of the television show that your audience came over here to come check out. That's the correlation, right? And that's some random miscellaneous thing happening on YouTube. What I see right now is that you are right now using WWE's product, using WWE, and I'm not trying to say that Bobby Lashley in himself is a product. I'm talking about IP. Calm the fuck down. You're using WWE's product in order to boost your own product, to boost your own content, to make your notoriety grow. That million views right there, that million views, was it because of AEW? Or was it because people seen the name Bobby Lashley and they tuned in based off of that in itself? You know what I mean? I think that's something worth talking about. I think that's something that one has to actually discuss. I think that's something that someone has to actually put into perspective when discussing AEW's history so far in the past 5 years. I want them to eventually use their own commodity, use their own content, homegrown content, mind you, to put themselves over in the same rate of time that Bobby Lashley put them over last night. Because what I see last night, honestly, is not Bobby Lashley debuting, getting a million views. What I see is WWE's Bobby Lashley debuting and getting a million for AEW. I think that's something that needs to be discussed more thoroughly. I think that's something that needs to be discussed more prominently. And I think that's something that needs to be registering in the minds of wrestling fans overall, if you really do care so much about the growth of AEW. And you know the sad part about it is, right? Because they like to play this game all the time. I guarantee you some people are going to come in and they're going to ask you. They're going to do two things, right? Because clearly they have a problem when you reflect off of topics like this, and they like to deflect from the argument, and they suggest things such as the ad hominems like, why do you care? Touch some grass. Where's your girlfriend? Right? All these things, all these projections that's going on in their own personal lives, when in reality, they know it's the truth. They know it's right? You can celebrate your stance. You can celebrate your actual stands, your fans and themselves. Not just the stance, but your stands. All you guys can have fun as much as you want. But for an example, this is no different than me, hypothetically speaking, right? My name is Devontae Rackley, right? Millennial Smart. And I go out of my way and I find somebody else's content and I put their content under my banner. Right? What does that suggest to most people? Right? There's nothing transformative about it. I took somebody else's content. Let's just say I take WWE's, which is why I used to do that for my shorts, but I stopped doing that because I wanted to stand on my own 2 feet, right? I didn't want them to actually be what garnered me attention outside of actually pointing you guys to a review or something like that, which I do once in a while nowadays. But my point being is that would be like taking a match from WWE, putting it on the channel, and then that video ended up getting 1 million views, right? You came to my channel and you seen the match, but there is no connection whatsoever are you making to say, for an example, like let's just say I had Roman and Cody and I got full permission for WWE to re-upload, which is never going to happen in a billion years. Well, let's just say I re-upload Roman and Cody, right? All right, WrestleMania on my channel, and WWE, they for some reason they don't want to re-upload it, right? People who come to my channel are coming to see Roman and Cody. And even though I got 1 million views on that video from that content, they did not come to see me. If I put out another video based off of my own content, the disparity is going to be incredibly noticeable, right? Because it's Cody and Roman. So they're going to do over 1 million views on my channel. But then I just put up my regular content and I get like 3,000 views, 4,000 views, 5,000 views. You know, the typical shit that I usually get, right? 2,000 views at the lowest. If you see that kind of disparity, what does that tell you about yourself versus the content that's on your channel? What that tells me is that no one is coming for you. They're coming for the act. They're coming for the product. They're coming from the content, in particular, that has nothing to do with you. And I think that's something worth talking about. I think that's something that you have to actually look at, like, straight up. And you have to ask yourself, okay, what bearing do I have as far as a company is considered in the mainstream wrestling audience's eyes? See, I expect, again, I will be completely and utterly shocked if they got anything less, which is already bad as is, right? This shouldn't even have to be the case, because the way I look at it, it's like, okay, as I said previously, you're at 800,000 a year ago, and we used to come on here and talk about how terrible of a number. They're dying, 800,000, they're dying, right? That was the old rhetoric back in the days. So to sit here and pretend it's a 700,000 is a good number, I guess, in retrospect, because of how badly they've dropped so far. I mean, but then again, I mean, what, in 3 years, if they're hitting 300K averagely, I guess 600,000 would be considered something insanely good, right? They did it like what, 2 weeks ago, right? If they got anything less than 700,000 with Bobby Lashley on there, that just tells you the disparity between the segments. Because like I said, Bobby Lashley came on at the tail end of the show, right? At the overrun tail end of the show. He was only there for maybe 3 to 5 minutes. I guarantee you that number, when people started to leak in, it ain't gonna really be as high. What the number you should be reflecting from in regards to Bobby Lashley is this YouTube number. This is the number. They got this. Anyone who does YouTube knows that the metrics for the first 48 hours is what matters the most. Anything after 48 hours, no one cares. That is now considered technically a nostalgia act at that point. Everything that is in regards to YouTube metrics, 48 hours. And they got 1 million views in their first 24 hours. Credit where credit is due. But what does that say about your product? What that tells me is that you can't stand on your own 2 feet. What that tells me is, without WWE, who would you be currently? And these are all things that we obviously have come to an understanding about. It's not as if this is a secret, but I feel as if this is an open secret. I feel as if we have to look at things like this and pretend like they don't exist. Well, I'm not here to pretend things don't exist when it comes to the health of professional wrestling, because I want to see it grow. I just want to see them take whatever that they have currently at the moment and distancing themselves from said product that's influencing them and using that as a way to gauge the product going forward. It's not to suggest that Bobby Lashley being in your company shouldn't be a thing that's not occurring. On the contrary, you'd be a fool not to take advantage of that. The proof is in the pudding. The results are right there. The viewership number is right there. You see what he did for your show. But there does come a time. There does come a time when innovation does have to be questioned. Right? There does come a time where, at the very least, creativity has to be questioned. Standing on your own 2 feet has to be questioned. Merit has to be questioned, right? And if all you are going to be is just a show where WWE wrestlers go to in order to serve for your own template, and there's nothing to really go about this being your own template outside of a damn logo, then that's a problem. That's a huge problem. You haven't gotten 1 million of anything probably in months. Wouldn't even be too far-fetched to suggest close to a year maybe. And the first time you get 1 million in forever, you get it via Bobby Lashley. You get it via WWE. Whatever happens next week, you need to distance yourself from WWE. And to make matters much worse, I'll end it with this. Not only did you get it with WWE, but you got it with, I would consider, just going off of how MVP talks, how Bobby Lashley talks, what is suggested, you got it off of WWE's trash. I'm not calling them trash, by the way. I mean, this is the most respectful way possible. I don't know how to make it respectful, but I'm going off of how WWE would look at them, not how I would look at them. I'm a big fan of Bobby, MVP, Shelton, the Hurt Business in general. I was pissed off when they got broken up in 2020. Still can't really look past that, to be honest with you, because of how much money you can have made with that group. This is one of the reasons why I'm happy they're in AEW, because at the very least, I want to see what they can do with them. You know, make up for past mistakes. But let's just call a spade for a spade. WWE, they view them as trash. That's their trash. And one may argue another man's trash is another man's treasure. But at the same time, you still took someone's trash. Hopefully you can make good by what you do. Hopefully you can do what you did with Tony Storm and Swerve Strickland and make them such a thing within your company that you forget that they worked for WWE. Make them such a commodity that they have officially become your superstars more so than WWE talent, to the point that people forget that they worked for WWE. If you could pull that off, you did it with Swerve and Tony. You have my utmost respect. But until then, what I see, it's that WWE got you 1 million views. That's not something that you want. and hopefully you distance yourself from that in the future. My name is Millennial Smark, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces and a P ice.